medical imaging. It's like so crucial for getting diagnoses right.
Absolutely.
But now AI is kind of catching up, like really catching up.
Right.
This research paper you sent me, it dives into this whole new breed of AI that can process both text and the images,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a real doctor.
Yeah.
So the big question is, are these AI, quote unquote, doctors ready to, be out there? Are they ready for prime time?
That's what we're going to find out.
Let's find out.
Exactly. So this paper explores something called multimodal LLMs.
Multimodal LLM.
LLMs, large language models, but multimodal. They're trained on both text, think like medical textbooks, all the journals, that kind of stuff, but also images, so x-rays and scans.
Okay.
And the researchers really wanted to see how these AI models, how they actually stack up against human doctors.
Against the real deal.
Against the real deal, exactly, especially in cases where visuals are like super important.
So how did they set up this like AI versus human doctor showdown?
All right, so to make it a fair fight, they created 120 realistic patient cases,
Okay.
each with text descriptions, symptoms, medical history, that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
But then they also had images to go along with those descriptions.
Oh, okay.
And they used a mix of images. Some were from a public medical image database, and others were actually from recent medical journal challenges.
Interesting. So like they made sure that the AI hadn't already seen these images, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like making sure a student hasn't peeked at the test answers beforehand, right? Got to make sure it's a level playing field.
Exactly, level playing field. So they had these patient cases, they had the text descriptions, they had the images,
Right.
and then who were the competitors?
So they had two leading multimodal LLMs.
Okay.
One was GPT-4o. You've probably heard of that one.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other was Claude Sonnet 3.5.
Okay.
And for the human side of things, they had three very experienced primary care physicians.
Oh, wow. A real medical showdown.
It was, exactly.
So how did it go? Like, how did they actually do this experiment?
So first, round one, they gave both the AI models and the doctors just the text descriptions.
Just the text, okay.
No peeking at the images yet.
So, like, round one is text only.
Exactly. Text only.
And what happened?
Well, this is kind of surprising.
Okay.
Both LLMs, they actually outperformed the doctors in that first round.
Really?
Especially GPT-4o. It was pretty impressive.
Hold on. The AI did better than the human doctors using only text. How is that even possible?
Well, think about it. These AI models, they've basically absorbed tons and tons of medical text during their training. Probably way more than like an average doctor has time for, with everything else they have to do.
Right.
So in terms of just like raw medical knowledge, they're already strong contenders.
Okay, so round one goes to the machines, but then round two, right?
Round two.
What happens then?
Now they get the full picture. They get the text and the images.
Oh, okay. Just like in a real clinic.
It's just like a real clinic. Uh-huh.
And, well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
Everyone's performance improved in round two. Makes sense,
Yeah.
right? They have more information.
Right, more info, better diagnosis.
Exactly. But the doctors, the human doctors, they made a much bigger jump in their accuracy. Like, way bigger.
Interesting. So the images clearly made a difference, but the AI didn't benefit as much as the human doctors did.
Right.
Does this mean that they're seeing something different? Like what's going on there?
That is the million-dollar question.
Okay.
And that's really like the crux of this study. It seems like just processing images, it's not enough to be on that, human doctor level of skill.
Yeah.
Like, there's more to it than that.
Right.
And so to try and figure that out, the researchers did something they called an explanation stress test.
An explanation stress test. What is that?
So basically, they asked the AI models to explain their reasoning in 40 of the cases,
Okay.
both with and without the images.
So they're really trying to understand the AI's like thought process. Exactly. Like what are you thinking, AI?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And what did they find? Did the AI, pass the stress test?
So here's the thing. They found that both GPT-4o and Claude Sonnet 3.5, they would often change their explanations for their diagnoses when they were shown the images.
Really?
Yeah, like almost half the time.
Wow. So the AI was definitely being influenced by the images,
For sure.
but are they truly seeing,
Hmm.
like a human doctor sees? Or are they just like processing pixels?
Yeah, that's the big question. What do you think is happening here?
I don't know. It's pretty wild to think about. It seems like they are incorporating that visual information,
Mm.
but maybe not in the same way that a human doctor does.
Right.
And that's definitely something we need to dig into a little bit further.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess we'll have to save that for part 2 of this deep dive.
Definitely. We'll unpack that more next time.
Okay, so these AI models, they're changing their diagnoses when they see the images. But are they really, like, understanding what they're seeing? Or are they just reacting to, like, the pixels on the screen?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It is.
This explanation stress test, it really tries to get at that,
Uh-huh.
Like, one of the cases they looked at involved a patient with a skin lesion.
Okay.
And just the text description, that alone initially led GPT-4o to suggest malignant melanoma.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty serious diagnosis.
Yeah, it is. Pretty scary.
Yeah.
But then when GPT-4o was shown the image of the lesion, it actually changed its diagnosis to something much less worrisome.
Oh, okay.
Seborrheic keratosis.
Okay, and what made it change its mind?
Well, in its explanation, it specifically mentioned the raised wart-like growth with a stuck-on appearance.
Oh, interesting. So it was picking up on those, like, specific visual features.
Exactly, kind of like a dermatologist would,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So those visual clues, they were enough for the AI to distinguish between the two conditions.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then there was another case with Claude Sonnet 3.5.
Okay.
This one was initially leaning towards a diagnosis of tension headaches, just based on the patient's symptoms.
Oh, yeah. Tension headaches. Those are pretty common, right?
Yeah, I get those sometimes too.
Me too.
Usually not too serious.
Yeah.
But in this case, when Claude Sonnet 3.5 was shown the patient's brain scan, it realized there was actually a tumor present.
Whoa, that's a huge difference.
Huge difference,
Yeah.
right? That's a much more serious situation.
Absolutely.
So it just goes to show, like, how crucial medical imaging can be.
Yeah.
And it also highlights the potential of these multimodal LLMs. They're not just, spitting out information from textbooks.
Right.
They're starting to actually integrate these visuals into their diagnostic process.
It's really impressive.
It is.
But I mean, we also have to remember that even though the AI is, showing these signs of learning from the images, it's still not quite at the same level as a human doctor.
Right.
Someone who spent years studying, practicing medicine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a student doctor.
Yeah.
They're still learning. They haven't quite grasped the full picture yet.
I like that analogy. Yeah. The human doctors in the study, they made much more significant gains in accuracy when they were given those images.
Right. Yeah.
They were able to, like, apply all their training and experience to really interpret those subtle details, those visual details that the AI might be missing.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, seeing the image.
Right.
It's about understanding what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And then being able to put it all together.
Exactly. Human visual reasoning, especially in a field like medicine, it's incredibly complex.
Yeah.
We can recognize patterns. We can connect clues that seem unrelated. We draw on our past experiences. It's something that AI, it's still trying to replicate,
Yeah, for sure. And this research really makes you appreciate just how amazing, like, the human brain is.
It does.
But it also makes you wonder, like, what if AI could eventually reach that same level of understanding?
Right.
What if it could, like, even surpass human capabilities?
That's when things get really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Imagine an AI that can, not just process static images, but video, 3D models, even real-time data.
Oh, wow.
From wearable sensors, it could analyze your gait as you walk or detect subtle changes in your facial expressions,
Yeah.
Changes that might, like, indicate early signs of a disease.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
But this is the kind of future we might actually be headed towards.
Yeah.
And it's a future that has so much potential, but also, some serious questions we need to think about.
Absolutely. We have to address those challenges.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we're going to be exploring in the final part of this deep dive.
Okay.
We'll be looking at, like, the broader implications of all this,
Yeah.
what it might mean for the future of healthcare.
We've been talking about these AI models, the ones that can, like, see medical images
Right.
and help doctors with diagnoses.
Yeah.
But this paper, it really gets you thinking about, like, the bigger picture, What happens when this technology is not just in the lab,
Right.
when it actually starts impacting real people
Exactly.
in the real world?
It brings up, like, a lot of really fascinating
It
questions.
does. It does.
Big implications.
Like, for example, what does this mean for the relationship between a doctor and their patient?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah,
I mean, trust is so important in that relationship.
absolutely.
Will patients, like, will they trust the AI as much as they trust their doctor?
Right.
Will they feel like they're really being heard and understood, even if there's, like, an AI involved?
Yeah, and what about the doctors themselves? Like,
Yeah.
how will they adapt to using these new tools?
Right.
Will they see AI as, like, a helpful assistant or
Mm.
a potential threat?
I think it'll probably be a mix of both, to be honest. Yeah.
On the one hand, AI could take over some of those more routine tasks,
Oh, okay.
freeing up doctors to spend more time with patients, which is great.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It could also, potentially help them make more accurate
Seems
diagnoses,
fair.
maybe even personalized treatment plans better.
That would be incredible.
It would,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's also the risk that doctors could become, like, too reliant on the AI.
Oh.
And they might end up missing important details that the AI just doesn't pick up on,
Right, right.
So it's super important to remember that AI should be a tool
Mm-hmm.
to augment human expertise, not to replace it.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Using it to make doctors better at what they do.
Right.
Not to, like, diminish their role.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the patient's perspective, we've got the doctor's perspective. But there's also the bigger picture of, like, access, right?
Oh, for sure.
Will everyone benefit from these advances in AI?
That's a big one.
Yeah. Or will it create, like, new disparities where some people have access to the best AI-assisted care?
And others will.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen this happen with other technologies,
Yeah,
you know, where the benefits aren't equally distributed.
Right.
We got to be mindful of that and really work to ensure that everyone has equitable access.
To this kind of care.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not just about access to the technology itself, though, is it?
No, it's also about making sure that those AI models, that they're trained on data that represents everybody.
Okay.
Different populations, different health conditions.
So we're not just building AI that works for, like, a small group of people.
Right.
It has to work for everyone.
It's got to work for everyone.
Yeah.
We have to be really intentional about the kind of future we're creating with this technology.
And that starts with conversations like these.
Right.
Thinking critically about, what's the impact going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And working together to shape its development
Yeah.
in a way that benefits all of humanity.
Well said. I agree.
This paper, it's been so thought-provoking.
It is.
And it's clear that we're really just, like, at the beginning of what's possible
Oh, yeah.
with AI in healthcare.
Scratching the surface.
It's a future with so many incredible possibilities.
It is.
But also, those ethical and societal questions.
Right,
We
right.
can't ignore those.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Me too.
What are your, final thoughts for our listener?
I think the biggest takeaway is that, the future of healthcare, it's being shaped right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just something that's happening, in labs and research places.
Right.
This is a conversation that we can all be a part of,
Mhm.
as this technology keeps evolving.
Yeah.
It's up to all of us to, like, stay informed, to ask questions,
Yeah.
and really engage in these discussions about how we want to see it used.
So even if our listener isn't a doctor or a scientist, they can still have a voice in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
about our health, our lives, our future.
It is.
And by staying engaged, by staying informed, we can help make sure that AI is used to create, a healthier, more equitable,
Yeah.
and a more humane healthcare system for everyone.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and healthcare.
It's to my pleasure.
And until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep asking those questions,
Keep learning.
and keep learning.